It's Eddie Trunk, and I'm joined by Dr. Brian May. Good to see you, Brian.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you so much for the time. Just getting right into it here, how's this all going with Adam Lambert? Has it exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, it's safe to say it's exceeded every expectation. Incredible. I can hardly believe what we're doing, really. It's enormous and full of joy. Just so much joy and fun, and you know, it's very much like the old days. And I know Freddie would love it. I just wish he was here enjoying it, because Adam is in no way a copyist of Freddie, but he has so much of the similar kind of roots of Freddie. You know, in his personality, I guess. You know, he doesn't have to try to be funny. He doesn't have to try to be camp or whatever. He apparently doesn't have to try to have an extraordinary voice. And I mean, that is a voice beyond any expectation. I don't think some people realize, you know, but I don't think the world at large quite realizes how amazing Adam is as a singer yet. You know, and I'm not in any way biased. You know, I would be saying this whether or not we were out touring with him. That's an incredible instrument he has, and he has the dedication to be using it and developing it just the way Freddie did. You know, he realizes what he has, and he's utterly dedicated in a very enjoyable way. You know, he's great to be around because he's fun, he loves it, and there's no pretense. It's just been extraordinary for us. And I think it's made us young again, really. You know, me and Roger, you know, we've seen a number of years, as you know. But I think, you know, we've jumped in, we've absolutely dedicated ourselves to it. And I think both Roger and I are playing better than we've ever played. And luckily we can still do it. We still have the bodies just about that can handle this kind of energy level. And it's a very high energy show. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I haven't. I'm looking forward to seeing it tonight.
Yeah, we do. It's approaching about 2 hours, 20 minutes, but it's high energy and very colourful, a lot of range of emotion, range of style. And yeah, very much like the old days. I'll tell you a strange story. I met up with my old security guard a couple of weeks ago, who was with us for a few years. And he's always followed us since, you know, he does other stuff now, but he said, "Oh, Brian, I've seen a lot of shows that you've done. I've followed everything you've done since 1986. And he said, "Tonight I saw Queen. I saw Queen."
Wow.
Yeah. And he was kind of quite emotionally, you know, he was quite tearful. And I thought, yeah, you're right. You did see Queen, because all the spirit of Freddie is still in there, and John, I have to say, you know, plus we're still here. And then organically, somehow, we found this guy called Adam Lambert, and he just does it. He's like, you know, you put him in there, and you don't have to ask, you don't have to kind of plan. He just is the right guy to be there. It's amazing.
You mentioned you and Roger are playing better than you maybe ever have, which is quite a statement considering the history of this band. Do you think that Adam plays into that? I mean, I've seen examples like, for instance, I just spoke to Judas Priest recently. They have a new guitar player that's very young in the band, and they talked about how much that's injected new life. They were considering retiring, and they had this new, young, fresh blood that has just reinvigorated them.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's kind of the same impact?
Absolutely, yeah. I think he's woken us up. Just in time.
So that leads to the question, where do you see this going? I mean, do you want to do a record? Do you envision doing more extensive touring? As you said, you and Roger are still playing great, but obviously time stops for no one. So do you see an end for this, or are you still enjoying it so much that you want to continue it?
You know, we live for the moment, like we always did. So I don't know. There's a big call to do more shows now. That we're getting a lot of calls from all around the world saying, "We hear this is incredible, it's extraordinary, we want this show." So there's a good possibility we'll do some more shows. And I think beyond that, we'll just see how it happens. But it's a great place to be. You know, I feel so fortunate to be going out there. I never thought it would happen again. You know, when Freddie went, I thought, no, that's it. We did that. It was a great life. Now it's time to have a different life. You know, and for years we didn't sort of try to be Queen in any way. And I remember looking, you know, I would look at the Forum in LA, and I would look at Madison Square Garden and think, those were the days, kind of stuff, you know. And to come back now, all these years later, and to fill those places and to hear that noise, that kind of vindication of the fact that we should be playing, we should be out there still treading the boards and still trying to push the envelope. It's been great. I feel just absolutely sort of overcome with it, really. And yeah, that we'll die one day, you know, or else my fingers will stop moving. I mean, this is the fact, it's tough. In the old days, I could do a 2-hour show and not break a sweat. Now it's tough. It's really tough. And I spend the rest of the bloody day trying to, massage the feet and the legs and the knees and the glutes and these fingers. There's a lot of inflammation in the fingers, particularly this sort of repetitive strain thing that you get in the thumb, which all guitarists get. And you battle with it. I battle with the finger end thing. I'm looking really good at the moment. They're like leather on the end, but that took a long time to get back. And your body in some ways likes it. It's like exercise regime, and it gets fitter and fitter, but it also starts to wear out. It also starts to protest. Some of the things, and the fingers are very stiff when I wake up in the morning. I have to do a lot of stuff to get them moving. But that being said, 2 hours plus on stage, we give it hell.
Well, you mentioned 2 venues, iconic venues with the Forum and Madison Square Garden, both of which you played on this tour. Yeah. And you're out there in the summer right now. A lot of bands are touring. Not everybody's doing so well, but a lot of bands are in co-headline situations. You're going out, no opening act, doing arenas, doing 2 hours. In America, where, although Queen is certainly iconic and loved, I think everyone agrees that outside of America globally, you're even huger. I mean, it's even a bigger thing. So it is pretty stunning that in 2014, with this guy, Adam Lambert, that you're doing this sort of business.
I know. It is incredible. And none of us take it for granted. We're really enjoying it. It's an amazing thing. And these days I'm more connected. I do social media and stuff,
I follow you on Twitter.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
I enjoy that. It's great getting people's feedback, and it's quite educational some of the time. So it's a new world, and I'm very, I feel very blessed to be a part of it.
Let me ask you, you talk about how you're holding up physically. How is the guitar holding up? The guitar, the iconic Brian May guitar. How, after all these decades, how is that holding up?
It's about the same as me. It's just about making it, It's, she's still got the power and the glory, and she's still a part of my body, really. Yeah, and she's never been refretted. I mean, those are the original frets from 40 years ago. More than 40 years now, 50 years. Yeah, so there's a kind of magic going on in there, yeah. The guitar's great. I have some great copies now, notably an Andrew Guyton one, which I use for Fat Bottom Girls, which is the drop D tuning. And I have one which sounds amazingly acoustic for Crazy Little Thing Called Love. But mostly I use the original guitar, and it just has it. Yeah, it still has everything that it always had. It has its voice, which is my voice.
I was a producer on a show that you played in Vegas in 2006 with Paul Rodgers in the band Rock Honors. And I remember all these bands played that, if you recall, Kiss and Judas Priest and Def Leppard. And everyone was wheeling in these racks of equipment and guitars. And your case came in and one guitar. That's it. Right? And it was almost like an aura around it. There's the guitar. Nice. So it's really, really very cool that that's still up there with you. And
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
How did the process of picking a set list come about? Because there's such a catalog of music, and now you have Adam, who's clearly a fan of the band and the history of the band. Did he have input? And how did you guys? I mean, it's a lot of music to pick from.
Yeah, we got together. There's too many hits, as Prince would say. There's an embarrassment of hits. We can't play all the hits, and of course, it's tough. Also, you don't just want to play hits. You want to play music. Sure. You want to give yourself a bit of space to kind of stretch out and make unique events, in a sense. So, well, we just hacked it out, really. We were very influenced by the fact that all of us listened to the 1974 Rainbow Show, which is coming out as a DVD, as you probably know. And we thought, my God, we were heavy. Let's revisit some of that. And I think a lot of the people who've stayed with us all through the years remember those early days when we were heavy. It was very fast and furious and big and, the original vision. So these days, on this tour, we're doing things like In the Lap of the Gods Revisited. We're doing Stone Cold Crazy. And
Now I'm Here as well,
ridiculous speed. Yeah, Now I'm Here. A lot of the early stuff. And it's great, and I'm sort of revisiting some of the soloing that I did in those days. Not quite the same, because it's never the same. But I'm sort of... It's a kind of retro-aware show, if you know what I mean. We don't want to be stuck in the past, but at the same time, we treasure what we built together with Freddie, and to take it to a slightly new place with renewed vigor is a thrill.
You mentioned heavy when you said Queen and the heaviness of the music, and a large portion of my audience that I cater to are the hard rock and heavy metal fans who love Queen. Are you aware of the impact, you must be, of the impact that Queen and your music has had on metal bands? I mean, Metallica obviously did Stone Cold Crazy, but I mean, bands like Testament, bands like Anthrax, Dream Theater, on and on, they've all covered and talked about how much Queen impacted them. Is that surprising to you in some ways, or do you see the connection?
It warms my heart a great, because I love all that stuff. You know, I love the heavy stuff. And, yeah, one of my great friends is Paul Crook, and he's always reminding me, he's you don't realize what people think about you. You don't realize. You know, he's just great. Yeah, he's Anthrax guy, you know.
Well, Paul's an old friend of mine, and the guy who connected us now, actually. Yeah, I've known Paul forever. So.
Yeah, he's a great guy. No,
great player,
I love it. Yeah, I love it. You know, the fact that people got excited about us and that inspired them to do what they do. There's no greater tribute. You know, there's no greater pleasure than to feel that you inspired people to do great things. So I'm very happy about that.
Are there any guitar players that you hear today, Brian, that you are really excited about? Anyone?
All the same ones that I was always excited about, I suppose, mainly. That's a hard question, because I love listening to everybody. Everybody's different. You see, I'm always thinking of things, but now you put me on the spot, it's hard to know. See, I still listen to Jeff Beck with mouth open.
You know, as many do.
Yeah, as we all do, I suppose. You know, I still love my Hendrix, you know, and I just appreciate everybody's different threads. You know, it's just 6 strings, and yet so much can be done. You know, my great friend Tony Iommi, you know, I watch him now and again whenever I get the chance, and I think, my God, you know, the guy hasn't even got the ends of his fingers in there. But, you know, he created heavy metal. You know,
sure.
He is the father of heavy metal.
Indeed.
So he's extraordinary to watch, you know. And I think people, it's great. You know, they're having a great tour at the moment, you know. But I'm very happy to see them put in the place that they should be, Black Sabbath. You know, that's a great that's a seminal thing. And we were all just boys, you know. They were like we were. I'm thinking of guitarists and stuff. There are so many, you know.
Well, you mentioned some iconic ones, certainly right there. You could go on and on forever.
So many. Joe Bonamassa is incredible, you know, makes my heart skip a beat.
It's got to feel good for you, though, when you see the guys like Jeff Beck, like Tony Iommi. A good friend of mine who I just saw recently play and sing, Glenn Hughes. I mean, what they're doing at this point in their career and at their age still, it proves rock and roll keeps you young. I mean, it's really remarkable that, and of course, put yourself in that category, what you just said, you're playing so well. So it really, I think, is pretty inspiring for me as a fan to see that, and I would think for you as a player to be able to still be able to get up there and see the guys you came up on the scene with still doing it so well.
It's great. I think every day I thank God that I'm kind of still in the river, which I thought had kind of been diverted away from me. Do you know?
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing for me. It's the greatest perk of kind of being a successful rock player, that you can interact with your heroes. You know, so, you know, occasionally I've stood on a stage with Eric Clapton, and, you know, I've worked with Eddie Van Halen and
the Starfleet record, which someone asked me on Twitter to ask you, will that ever come out on CD?
It ought to, yeah, but CDs are defunct, aren't they?
Not for me. Not for me. I'm fighting to still hold on to them. I'm still a CD guy.
It should do. Yeah, it should really do. And we talked about Paul Crook, who's an amazing player.
Sure.
He does all that stuff with Meatloaf, and he's producing Meatloaf now as well.
Right.
You know, he makes me feel pretty humble as well. You know, there's some great players out there. We haven't even mentioned Joe Satriani.
Of course.
You mentioned Steve Vai.
Yeah, you mentioned that you thought you'd never do this again. And then you did an album and a few very successful tours with Paul Rodgers, and I saw the band with Paul as well. How do you look back on that phase in the post-Freddie history of Queen?
I think it was very good. Again, we didn't look for it. It was an organic coupling. And I think, you know, Paul remained as a hero, you know, to us, and he's an incredible singer. What happened was, I think we sort of broadened ourselves, and we sort of reached out towards the blues and stuff, and we wanted to accommodate what he could bring and you know, what we could bring to each other. I think we had some great moments. But in that situation, you know, we toured long and hard. We did big tours, including going out to South America. And by the time we got to Rio and Buenos Aires, it was apparent that it was becoming I'm not going to say strained, but it was obvious that Paul needed to have his career. You know, why would he give up his career just to be singing Queen songs, you know? And in some senses, it was apparent that we were, in a sense, you know, pushing and pushing and pushing, but maybe it was time to just step back and take stock again. And again, we didn't look for anyone else. We didn't look for Adam Lambert. We didn't look for a replacement for Paul. We just thought, okay, that's it. That's done. It was great. Shake hands, you know.
You thought that could have been the end right there?
Yeah, I didn't imagine we would do it again, really. And then suddenly there's this guy out of the...
Was your first exposure to Adam Lambert through American Idol? Was that the first you had heard of him?
Yeah, yeah.
And you saw him, I'm assuming you saw him doing Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, yeah. People sent me the link and I looked at it and I thought, I thought.
Were you, you know, there's a lot of people that have found new singers. Journey comes to mind through YouTube and through clips like that. Were you actively kind of clicking around and looking for someone, or just people said, hey, you have to check this out?
Absolutely not. No, I wasn't looking. I have a very full life, you know, and I've become an animal advocate, you know, which takes up a lot of my time. And to me, that's one of the great priorities that I have in life, to try and change the world so that we treat the rest of the creatures on this planet decently. You know, I have enough to do, you know, plus I did return to astronomy. I'm still active in astronomy and astrophysics. I do stereoscopic photography and the history of.
I saw photos you posted from, I believe, the Empire State Building.
Yeah. I'm very into that stuff. And I've published a few books on the history of stereophotography. So, you know, I don't absolutely need to do this, but then suddenly there it was. And, of course, everybody said, you have to play with this guy. He's perfect. And indeed, he is perfect. You know, he comes into it with a great joy of life. He comes in with an incredible voice, beyond anything I could imagine. And we didn't push it. We didn't jump straight into it. He went off and did some stuff. You know, he had the beginnings of his career, and he's done well. But we had the opportunity to work together. First of all, in Ireland, in an awards show. We just did a couple of tracks, which was, I think, The Show Must Go On and Rock You and Champions, something like that. And everybody went, way, you should be touring, guys. You should be doing it. So a couple of years later, here we are. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting the kill sign that you have to go, but two quick final questions. What can fans expect coming out? Anything coming out as far as new material? You mentioned the Rainbow Show from '74.
That's a DVD that's coming out before the end of the year. And we have this Queen Forever album coming out, which has a selection of tracks which are a little bit unusual off the studio albums, but also some material which people won't have heard before, like Love Kills, which you hear in the show. We do that with Adam. It's a reworking, and I guess I'm excited about it. It's different. We have a song which we discovered, which we recorded in LA in the 1980s, called Let Me In Your Heart Again, which nobody has heard. Nobody. So it's great. You know, in these days of everything being leaked all over YouTube and whatever, you know, nobody's heard that, and I'm thrilled. You put it on, I mean, we put on the analog multitracks, and it was just as if it was recorded yesterday. Freddie bursts out of there. I'm playing guitar, Roger's playing drums, John's playing bass. It's Queen at a great moment, and I was thrilled to be able to rescue it and make it into a record. So you'll hear that. A couple of tracks with Michael Jackson, which again, you know, I'm pleased with. We'll see how that works.
There's so much I want to ask you, but I don't want to hold you from your sound check. I appreciate the time. It's great to see
Thank
you.
you.
And I speak for all the Queen fans. It's great to have you back playing music and hearing these great songs again. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Bless you.